now. Okay.
Welcome, everyone.
Welcome to ambushes. So any point you have questions, throw them in the chat. We'll pause at the end too, of course, for questions if they come up then. Right off the bat, we're gonna kind of demystify the term ambush. A lot of people, when they hear ambush or ambushes, they automatically think of one of two things. They think of a war, combat, police scenario, military kind of an ambush in that context, or they think of the stranger attack, being ambushed on the street, right? That the grab from behind, the mugging, the physical attack that comes out of seemingly nowhere. Yes, that's definitely one form of the ambush, but that is not all there is. There is also...
Nor are they the most common one, by the way.
No, they're not the most common one. There's also the setup. The setup, for example, a couple different examples here. And we have the grooming of children and teenagers, young adults, for human trafficking, sex trafficking and the like. The grooming, that is a part of the ambush. Why? They are set up. That grooming is happening, they win the trust, and then out of seemingly nowhere to that individual that's being targeted, to that young adult or anyone in this situation, they get asked to do a favor, right? Oh, have sex with my friends. And then that's how it starts. That's how the trafficking starts. They're in a prostitution ring and the like. So that is one form of ambush. There is the ambush of, if anyone here watches Forensic Files, if you don't, highly recommend. You can find it on YouTube. Plenty of cases on there where is an ambush, a setup where the spouse or family member sets that individual up for financial gain, right? They slowly poison that individual so they appear to be sick. That's an ambush. It's a setup and it comes out of nowhere. So opening our...
And the financial gain we're talking about that you didn't mention, sorry, is
life insurance.
Extended life insurance policies. They might have one already. There's an extended one. They don't have one. All of a sudden, there's one for $250,000 or whatever it is.
They've increased the amount, that sort of thing.
There's a lot of red flags that we're going to talk about that leads up to that. As a matter of fact, every single time, either the victim themselves or friends that heard their stories picked up on those red flags, and either their intuition went off and it was completely dismissed, or their friend said, "Are you sure it's not so-and-so who might be doing this to you?" Yeah. No, not in a million years. Yeah. Complete and utter denial and shutdown that it could potentially be the husband or wife or the spouse or the brother or the right. So the red flags are the most important features that we're going to be looking at today in every type of ambush, be it the physical, seemingly out of nowhere in the street, or the likes that Pam spoke about, grooming, or the individual who's setting you up for potential financial gain. And that can be anywhere from a family member to a boss, or a coworker or a business partner who, right? So there's a variety of different types of ambushes that unfortunately lead to murder. And the murder isn't done, again, the way we see it in martial arts or self-defense classes. They don't come at you by the front and pin you to a wall and wait for you to do your move. There's none of that. You're being poisoned, you're being bludgeoned to death in your sleep, you're being shot to death to make it look like a suicide. You're stabbed from behind. These people are trying not to get caught. So the percentages of people who go out and do this randomly in the street is so tiny in comparison to the people who are ambushed on a daily basis by friends, family members, coworkers, and the like.
I mean, in one context or one sense, you could, say that the setup and ambush are synonymous to each other, right? They're two different phrases, but they're one in the same, right? There's that setup is leading to the ambush, maybe not synonymous, but they go hand in hand. So we're looking at not just the stranger, like Rich said, we're looking at those red flags. Yes, we are going to look at obviously the physical because, that's a part of it. It is a part of it. And it is important as well to look at strangers. Well, while they're very rare or uncommon, it's still important that we know what to do in those situations, because they can be severe situations, extreme violence.
And stranger isn't selectively just someone we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like a stranger ambush could be literally a complete and random individual. You're walking down the street, you just didn't spot them, and they nail you from behind. The girl at the elevator that we have on our Instagram, one of the ads we posted for those three, these are out of nowhere. You've never seen the person potentially speaking. Yes, those are stranger attacks. But another form of stranger attack, which becomes a little bit closer because, well, the stranger made some form of contact via your vocation, potentially speaking, and now they've introduced themselves, and now they, as a potential client or as a potential interested party in what you're offering or wanting to enter your domain or whatever it is. These are still strangers, but a contact has been made and a setup is happening. For example, we have Rob here, realtors.
Yeah, realtors are a perfect example. Anyone working alone, and anyone who's vulnerable in their work, whether that is, even the lone graveyard shift store clerk that's working alone, the realtor, for example. Again, there's an episode of Forensic Files where there was a realtor who was raped and killed working alone because she was set up. She had a supposed client call and want to come see a viewing, and he attacked her. He had targeted someone else before that, literally the day before. She had a bad feeling, showed up with her husband.
She trusted her intuition, so she made her husband come with her.
And the guy, as soon as he saw that she was with her husband, he didn't even say hello. He didn't even acknowledge her. He saw that she was with someone else, turned around, got in his car and took off, but proceeded to target someone else. So
the very next day.
Yeah. So Rob Andrus is watching today, and we know him through SAFE. He works with SAFE. He also does work with Realtor Safety. He is in real estate. And I've asked Rob if he could share some stories in his personal experience with this kind of setup as far as realtors goes, because he's going to have a lot more insight, personal insight, than what we would get from a TV show or a news story, for example. So Rob, if you don't mind taking the mic here and sharing a story or your experience with that would be great.
Not at all. And I just have to say something you were saying about the story about the the realtor showing up at the appointment with her wife and the man just continued to drive on. That's almost what happens in reality.
Well, that was reality, right? That lady died.
These individuals almost seem to have a need to take that control back. So it generally always seems to be somewhat of a confrontation. So it's, what do you mean? What do you bring that guy here for? I didn't know he was coming. It's that kind of thing, but they generally leave. And the ambush attacks, if I can, I'm going to tell you a story of a girl in Brockville.
Yes, definitely. Please share.
And this is going to be really interesting for you because I end up coming into this victimization 3 years later. So it'll kind of give you a bit of an understanding of this mindset on those who target realtors. This girl's name was Brandy. About 5 years experience in, was on her 6th or 7th showing with this man. And this is becoming more of a common feedback we're hearing, where there's been multiple introductions, multiple activity between the predator and the victim. And with Brandy, she was into 5 or 6 showings, and it happened at night. She was looking out the kitchen window when he came up from behind her and grabbed her. And what stopped the attack, it's kind of interesting, and this is kind of a cool thing too. Brandy is an animal lover. And this guy had got to know Brandy, her habits, her likes, her dislikes. And on this particular showing, he miraculously shows up with an animal. How interesting.
Red flag.
That
was part of it. Get that guard down even more.
Is it the desensitization that they go through it impresses me every time I hear a story. It just shocks me how determined they are. So her attack happened that night, and when she saw the dog in the truck, she refused to allow him to leave the dog in the vehicle by itself. It was winter, it was January. So he ended up capitulating and bringing the dog in the house. And when he attacked her through all the flailing and screaming, the dog actually started biting him to remove him from the violence that was happening.
Amazing.
And had the dog not been there, I believe the outcome of this story would be entirely different.
Yeah, absolutely.
He got up, the dog forced him off of her, trying to protect him, which kind of almost an oxymoron.
Yeah.
So she's okay. She never really tells this story to anyone, as we're finding with realtors. Most of them don't report because of client retaliation or just fear of what their own peers in the industry are going to say about them. And I found Brandy's story a day I was showing a property she had listed. It was a new home construction. And after I was done the showing, she says, "Hey, Rob, do you mind if I, talk to you about something?" And then out this whole story come. Here's the crazy part of this. 6 months ago, I had my life threatened. I had my life threatened by a man who I sold his property under a power of sale. The man, who I sold the property, ended up picking up my for sale sign. It was witnessed by the tenant in the home, screaming and yelling at my for sale sign, threw my for sale sign in the back of his truck, then picked up the phone and called me and told me he was coming after me. He's going to fucking kill me. I'm going to fucking kill you, you fucking asshole. Sell my home, all of this kind of stuff. The police brushed it off. It took 3 days of me constantly on them before they would go and arrest him.
Yeah, it takes that. Unfortunately.
That was the same man that attacked Brandy.
Wow.
And we have found that within incidences within realtors, and this is something I'm really going to talk to you guys about in November, it seems they have a preferred victim target.
Yeah.
And they go from one to the next until success is achieved.
Yeah.
Which, really fucked me up when I understood it all.
Yeah.
And now that I became a victim on the end of it, it really hit home just to, how that it doesn't change. It will progress to the next and to the next,
Yes.
and to the next. But yeah, interesting.
Very, very, very good points. And thank you so much for sharing that. Greatly appreciated. And that's common amongst all predators, is generally speaking, they have a type. There is a type that they are after, that they're targeting. And of course, vulnerability plays a role in that. If you want to add to that.
Oh, good.
So, there's a few things he addressed there that, again, this demonstrates the setup, right? It wasn't, a one-time listing where, like the case in Forensic Files where she had never met the guy before. It was a one-time, he just had, he didn't take his time setting someone up. He, immediately attacked this woman. This one here, he took his time gaining trust, getting that guard down, using the love of animals again.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of manipulation.
That's a lot of manipulation.
It's a higher level functioning sociopath.
And a lot of grooming. And this is what we see in cases, again, with human trafficking, with
rape, sexual assault,
bullying. Bullying, even domestic violence. We see this. I mean, how anyone who's worked with survivors of domestic violence, the story is often the same. It's like they went from they're Jekyll and Hyde, right? They love bomb. They're very romantic. They give you all this attention.
They make all your friends and family love them. So
They're,
that if you say anything against them, your own family and friends are going to come down on you.
Yeah, right. And then they suddenly switch, right? I've even heard countless stories of where it was literally after they're married, the day after their wedding, all of a sudden they completely change into a completely different person. It's like something about that act of marriage or that ceremony was like hit the switch, right? And that,
Well, usually if it's for financial gain, now you're tied.
it can be in
And
it.
so-
You know, it's not always for financial gain. It's just for personal gain, in the sense that they want someone to manipulate, to control, to
There's a lot of that,
hurt,
yeah.
to lash out at. They want that. They want a victim that they can victimize over and over and over again and take their crap out on, right? So the ambush is again, wide variety of context that we can see this, but there is also a commonality. There's that setup, right? Even in stranger attacks, there can be that setup prior.
Also with stranger attacks, the setup is generally much shorter because it's impulsive and they're searching for whatever it is that they're going to go after, be it racial,
Yeah, hate crimes, for example.
or whatever oriented. So there is always a victim selection process when it happens in that type of level, outside of course, an argument escalating to the point of violence and you're being ambushed, because that happens as well. We saw a video clip of two men seemingly sitting in an airport having a discussion that is escalating. One man looks seemingly more calm than the other, and at the end of the discussion, one of them just grabbed a pencil and stuck it right into the other guy's chest twice, stabbed him, boom, boom. So that's a hell of an ambush. I never saw it coming, never expected it. And it's right there in front of your face. And again, the level of knowing the individual varies to many, many degrees, from absolutely nothing to, oh, that's my mailman.
Acquaintance, right? You're an acquaintance. It's the
Or a client.
That's a client, or that's my friend's client. That's my friend's neighbor, my mother's neighbor, my brother's neighbor. It can, right? How we know, knowing someone. When we throw out stats, like 90% of the time, it's somebody that we know. That knowing
isn't necessarily intimate.
Yeah, it's not always intimate. It can be anything from the next door neighbor or the store clerk at the grocery store you go to all the time, right? These are,
you don't know them by name, you don't know them whatever, but
you know them.
You know them. You've seen them. They know you.
There is
which
a personal connection to them in some way, shape, or form. And stranger attacks, the smarter, higher level stranger attack that is well informed on crime understands that it is harder to solve those cases. It's very difficult to solve cases of sexual assault, rape, homicide, where it is a stranger attack. Why? There's no personal connection. Most attacks and any form of violence, homicide and the like, when there is a personal connection, they do get solved. The mass majority of them. Why? Personal connection. And generally speaking, criminals are not very bright, right? They can be higher level, but they're not bright enough to not get caught.
Not these types.
Most of them get caught, whether it's right away or even years down the line as forensic science continues to evolve.
It's the relationship level that, if you want, disarms the potential individual who is being victimized. In that relationship, the minute you have a relationship with an individual, even if it's one, I don't like my neighbor, but every time I see them, I kind of have to say hi. That's still a relationship. That's enough for that person to pick up on nuances. You might remind them of their mother, their father, your personality, whatever it is that could trigger their antisocial behavioral triggers, right? And so now, this doesn't mean that everybody's a sociopath either, but people,
let's avoid the paranoia, right? But it's just education, knowledge is power,
right? And then there's also the type who aren't aware that they're doing it. Like I just made a post today where I talk about that. There's a lot of parents who abuse but aren't aware that they're abusing. The most common one we look at today, and you can see it even on the internet on some of the stuff we post, is 321 studies on spanking. Everything points, 17 out of 14 characteristics are damaged. Like, I mean, everything points to its negative. It creates brain damage. It creates antisocial behavior, all kinds of shit. 321 studies, all kinds of countries, 5 meta-analysis. People will still say, well, I think no point. Obviously not. They're not aware. And they're not being argumentative because they they fundamentally believe they're okay. They're not aware of the damage they are now causing their children because, well, fuck, I grew up in it and I'm functioning. Look, I have a home, a job, a car, 2 kids. That doesn't mean you don't have mental illness. Everybody, the association to mental illness is we should be in a fucking straitjacket or seeing a shrink 8 times a day. No, not necessarily. There's various levels. I can twist my toe or fracture my femur. Both are damage to the leg. Same thing with the brain. It doesn't always have to be to the case of psychosis and fucking right? So what we're looking at is a variety of is a variety of types of red flags that an individual can pick up on without necessarily having to diagnose the individual fully as a narcissist or a psychopath. Just understand it from a feeling perspective. Shit, man, every time that person or I'm around them, I'm uncomfortable, or they say things that make me, but I know how they are, it's okay. So what do? We excuse the behavior, we become apologetics, and then we keep seeing these people and they keep taking and taking and taking.
That's a big one that he just touched on. And
thank you. I was reading it.
And that is huge. We have a bad habit as human beings to ignore our intuition or ignore or brush off inappropriate behavior, feelings of discomfort, because we don't want to offend that person. We don't want to be rude. We don't want to hurt someone's feelings. There's too much emphasis, especially for women. We grew up with it as young girls, but it's true of both males and females. And all genders, is that don't be rude, be polite. Someone's making you feel uncomfortable, you keep it to yourself. Don't make people feel bad. Well, you can express your discomfort and you can place boundaries without being rude, right? They don't go hand in hand. They're not synonymous to each other. So that one is huge. People will ignore their gut instinct to not offend someone. I would rather put my life and my well-being at risk than offend this person by telling them they're crossing a line, or I'm uncomfortable, or getting myself out of the situation because I don't want to offend them or make them feel bad.
But that's the thing. The person doesn't process it that way in that moment.
And if
nobody does.
And if that's the setup, and a lot of the time it is, when we're talking about very manipulative, high functioning sociopathy and psychopath, is they're going to bank on that. They know that people are going to ignore their intuition and that they will manipulate in even the most subtle little ways, right? Gavin de Becker talks about it in the Gift of Fear, where there's all kinds of tactics that they use: loan sharking, the typecasting, which I also compare to the backhanded compliment, right? A woman as smart as you would never talk to someone like me. They've complimented you by calling you smart, but then are also, insulting you or making you feel bad about not wanting or expressing that you don't want to talk to this individual, you don't want to accept their help when they continue to push and ask for help. Man, I can help you with your bags. No, thank you, I'm okay. Oh, you shouldn't, you're a strong woman, but it's okay to accept help sometimes. You're making that person feel guilty for saying no to your forcing of offering help, right? These are just various examples of it, but we need to address that, especially when we're teaching kids or anybody. Listen to your instinct, follow what your gut is telling you.
And if you're uncomfortable with somebody 75% of the time in their presence,
avoid that person.
Just,
avoid that individual.
You gotta raise your children that way too.
Absolutely.
Like my kid, I took him to a Brazilian jiu-jitsu school. And I took him to a couple self-defense schools. He went to a karate school. He lasted 2 years. He went and trained with Savannah Archambault, who's online promoting her stuff. He trained with her, did several privates, really enjoyed it. She was really great. COVID stopped it and all that. And then I took him to a Brazilian jiu-jitsu school here locally. Somebody I used to know who trained me. And he had it, his school was here. I took my kid in. Instantly, his gut was woof. He froze, he panicked, he didn't want to go in. His senses were completely off. Yeah. So I didn't force him. I paid a month membership, bought the fucking gi, walked out of there with my kid. We never stepped foot there in there again. I don't care about the money. It's like, man, if you're uncomfortable at that level,
Yeah.
buddy, I'm not fucking forcing you to do nothing,
Absolutely.
right? And as time went on, just watching the dude post shit on his pages and shit, I was like, good call, buddy. Good fucking
Yeah.
call. You know that?
Yeah,
So
Rob wants to ask a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rob, go ahead.
Thanks, Pam and Rich. Question for you, and I'm specifically targeting this towards you, Pam.
Okay.
We have found our experience with the professional female realtor having a hard time truly identifying and listening to their intuition. It becomes one of these, well, I have to deal with so much shit through the day and people saying things to me, and I'm concerned about this and I'm concerned about that. And, you know, my intuition goes off and it automatically becomes, I'm overreacting to this.
Mhm.
So is there some way to possibly open that conversation up with clients, expanding on that, letting, and it's the female, and I get it. I mean, they get up in the morning and they got to look at their own ass in the mirror to make sure that it's not going to fire somebody walking down the street a comment at them, right? Like, I get it. I understand it. But I believe that our society has put so much emphasis on females and women on protecting themselves that they have a hard time identifying intuition and overreaction. I don't want to use the word paranoia, but you know, am I overreacting to this, or is this the thing? What's your thought on this?
So I have a couple thoughts. First of all, I'm just going to address the topic of trauma when it comes to intuition, because people who, particularly individuals, men or women, that have unresolved trauma, can be very disconnected from their intuition, that they have literally no connection to it at all. They're not going to connect to red flags. They're not going to connect to that gut instinct. Potentially because they have disassociation. So they aren't even connected to themselves. They're not even connected to their own body. They have a hard time connecting with other people. And if that is the case, it's going to be very, very difficult to connect to intuition at all. And that is where addressing the unresolved trauma comes in, and working with trauma-specific therapists and counselors and somatic body work. So getting back into things like yoga and meditation, and getting back, even martial arts can help with that. Getting back into your body, so you are connected with your body. You actually, like, there are literally people, and I know Rich can attest to this, that have disassociation from PTSD, where they look at their hand and they can't connect that this is their hand. They're like, they can't physically connect with their body. So if they can't connect with their body, they're not going to be able to connect with that gut instinct, and that takes work. That's not a simple statement. It takes some physical work with the body, yoga, meditation,
and guidance, proper guidance. You can't just get offline now and go, oh.
Yeah. You need proper guidance with that, and a trauma-specific therapist. So,
and we're not therapists.
And we're not therapists.
Very important to note that.
Trauma coaches are great too, that are trained in trauma coaching and the like. Now, beyond that, 100%, I get it. You know, how do I know I'm being paranoid or overreacting? And intuition, super common. It takes some introspection. A lot of
the ability to
the ability to be self-aware and to notice, did this start with a thought? Did I look at someone and maybe I have a preconceived notion about the way a certain individual looks, right? Or dresses. Was I binge watching Criminal Minds for the last 2 weeks, and now everybody I look at is a serial killer, right? Right. That cannot, those little things, you know, we're exposed too much to watching certain media, and now everybody is potentially a psychopath and Hannibal Lecter and you know, in a nice suit, right? That can definitely affect our reaction there and have preconceived notions. So we need to recognize, by practicing self-awareness, of, did this start with a thought or did it start with the feeling? Usually when it's paranoia, our mind goes on a runaway train. right? We tend to start imagining worst case scenario.
One thing leads to another.
One thing leads to another. Whereas intuition, we tend to, unfortunately, unless you have gotten into the practice to trust it, we dismiss it. Oh, you think the worst of people. Oh, this is you being paranoid again. Oh, blah, blah, blah. But there's the gnawing physical sensation, right? That knot in the stomach. Listen to your body. That is one of the best pieces of advice I can give, is to listen to your body. What is your body telling you? How do you physically feel in this person's presence?
Emotionally,
right?
physically.
You need to observe. They, might be super polite and they're nice and polite and giving compliments. But I'm not getting a sense of ease or peace when I'm around this person. I'm getting quite the opposite. I have this knot in my stomach. Something.
And you question it. Why?
And why
But
do I feel
there's
this way?
seemingly no reason for it.
Doesn't seem to be a reason for it, because they're being nice and polite and
I mean, the guy brought a dog.
Yeah, exactly. But
how bad can he be?
How bad can he be? But there is that gnawing physical feeling. So it does take self-awareness. It's something to talk about more frequently with your clients. If you are seeing this theme pop up a lot with your clients, and you're hearing it a lot, it is something that you should address more frequently.
I would also put money on the fact that the reason she wanted the dog to be there was a lot deeper than just, oh, it's cute, I don't want it to just be in the van.
Yeah, it could. That's her intuition comes up in many forms. That's a perfect example of that. That was her, because your intuition is connected to your subconscious. You're not consciously aware of it. There's even situations, again, gift of fear. Gavin, I would recommend that your clients, you recommend that book to them. And even if you have the ability to do it, is gift it to them. Buy copies of Gift of Fear and give it to them and tell them to read it. You want to get more in touch with intuition, you want to understand it better, read this book. It saved countless lives just from getting them more in tune with what that intuition is and the red flags and all of that stuff. But it can even come up in the form of dark humor, right? Where you make some really dark joke and then something happens. The actual dark joke that you made manifests. And it's not that you manifested it from the joke, it's that was your intuition, subconscious, telling you, hello, red flag. And if you're somebody who has a dark sense of humor, we're those people. We can definitely, we'll make those jokes. I know that I've done it in situations where I've made some dark joke and then shit, something happened after that. So that's kind of a nutshell of that intuition. They're disconnected from it. Because they have repressed trauma or unresolved trauma, it's critical that they address it, that they work on resolving it. Body work, getting back and connected with their body, the practice of self-awareness, pausing throughout the day to see how you feel in situations. Again, the best way to start doing that is to have a routine in the morning. And a lot of people talk about motivation. Oh, I'm not motivated in the morning. Replace motivation with discipline. Motivation is fleeting. You can wait forever for motivation to come around to do something. You replace motivation with discipline. Start disciplining yourself to get into certain practices and a routine in the morning to meditate for 5-10 minutes. Bring the focus of self-awareness. I affirm today that I'm going to pause throughout the day. If that means putting reminders in your phone, that you get a little reminder that pops up every 2 hours to pause and just be self-aware. What am I feeling right now? What's going on in my environment? Pause. I feel my body. I feel my feet rooted on the ground beneath me. I feel myself sitting in the chair. To bring yourself back in your body. Over time, what this does is it helps form new neural pathways in your brain, that it becomes a second habit. Eventually, you do it automatically. It becomes a second habit to you, just like anything else that we talk about as far as practices go. We always talk about keeping our hands at center point when we're in a conversation with someone, especially if that conversation is one of conflict. We keep our hands up here. Why? If I need to protect myself, they're here instead of down, where I have all, this space and time to bring my hands up to protect myself, they're here. Squatting to bend, rather than bending over to pick things up. These, when we practice them on a daily basis, they become second nature, and we do it without even thinking. So these are little things we can do to help guide us and get more in tune with our intuition. If you want to add to that.
There's also for people the familiarity of being in, if you will, negative situations, growing up through it. As we said, people who were spanked, who it's normalized for them, and because seemingly they're okay, it's okay for me to do it no matter what the science says. It's an element of the unknown. It's also an element of that's all I knew. Well, I don't know how else to. How do I love? I wasn't loved. How do I not spank? I was spanked. How do I not? So it's a re-educative process.
Yeah.
That
very well said.
That is just, it's critical, but it's also you can't make someone realize this. Like, especially if they're not aware of it. You can't go up to somebody, oh, you're like this because of blah, 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 blah. They're gonna look at you and go, fuck you. Yeah, because I was in that spot. I'm
How dare you tell me what I am, right?
Yeah, who are you?
You got to do it like planting seeds and just leading by an example and inspiring people.
Education that, like, shit we put out. Like, I had a guy recently communicate with me, and he sent me private message, and he says to me that when I stopped teaching Senshido, he quit. He stopped following me. He thought I went the woke route. I just found out what that was. Thank you. So, and I didn't know what the fuck woke meant or whatever the fuck, but whatever. So I went the woke route, and he stopped following me. And then he went on to tell me how horrifically abused he was as a child, and I just went all kinds of horrific hells, from physical, you name it. And eventually, the only person that saved his life was he met a woman and he fell in love with her and he married her, and it's his wife now, and she is just like a godsend if you're a believer to him, right? And he says since that time he started glimpsing at my stuff again, and it completely made him realize 1,000 different things, and literally helped him, guide him now into a much better life, to the point where one of the last messages he sent me is he wants to dedicate himself to make males realize that it's okay to have emotions and not be the, and I hate the term, but the toxic male, right?
Toxic masculinity.
Or toxic masculinity. So he's heavily gone down that route, and he's very thankful to the work that we do, because we've planted seeds. Because if somebody comes up to me and goes, oh, you're a woke piece of shit, blah, 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 I'm not following you anymore. All right. But me going up to him and going, don't you see that this is why? And I was like this, and they're not ready to listen. I wasn't ready to listen at all the way up until my mid-30s. I wasn't ready to listen. And even then, it took till my early 40s, the complete destruction of my third marriage, raising a kid by myself, to go, what the fuck? And then to start to pinpoint things and
diagnosis of PTSD.
Right? And I had that. I have complex PTSD, depression, social anxiety, a whole bunch of shit I had no fucking clue about until I was 40.
We both do. So we both have been a big having that understanding of what our shit is and what our situation, what led to us having that.
You can't,
and being in these situations.
We can't, no one can help somebody who either A, isn't aware that they need the help, or B, doesn't want the help. You could bang your head on that wall for the rest of your life and it ain't fucking happening. So the seeds have to be planted, education has to be done, the person's individualistic realization has to be on their own, but they need examples of people living it. They need examples of people they look up to doing it, talking about it, right? Familiarizing themselves with it, so that they eventually sit down one day and going, oh, wait a minute, I do that.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
I have road rage. Oh, fuck. I didn't realize that it's my kid and my wife who are eating the fucking words. I didn't know, but now I do. So I'm gonna fucking really work hard at not having road rage, because I don't want them to do that. Now, there's been countless people that we've taught that just by this talk stopped having fucking road rage, but that's not enough, is it? Because that anger now is going to manifest itself elsewhere. So you have to go, how the fuck am I angry? You got to look deeper now. It's not the person pissing me off on the road, obviously. That's misdirected anger. I have road rage.
And this
It's to
is,
punch my fucking roof
Yeah.
driving. It's
and
retarded.
this is
I feel like an idiot now.
another example of
It-
what leads to ambushes and social violence, because it's not always the antisocial
No.
person or the predator that is ambushing someone. You've got two decent human beings who are having a bad day, the good guy having a bad day.
Social
and
violence.
Social violence, right? And especially when you add alcohol into the mix, you know,
Recreational drugs, stress, lack of sleep.
where that ambush can happen. You get into that argument, and at one point that person, you know what, I'm not arguing anymore. I'm just gonna end this. But I don't want to get hurt, so I'm gonna set this person up and ambush them. And we'll look at reflexive response in regards to that.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
So should we do that now? We'll look at reflexive response.
We
now?
could look at it. First of all, do you get any questions about
Yeah,
any of this
let's,
stuff?
before we get into a bit of physical, now some of you are gonna be familiar with this physical already. Rob, you'll probably be, because yours was safe, you're gonna understand this, but a lot of people that will be purchasing this after, and some that are with us now, are not gonna know this stuff, but so we're gonna look at it anyway. It's always nice to have a refresher anyway, but any questions first, before we get into that?
If I can, and sorry to keep poking in, but this is
No, all
a
good.
topic of fascination.
If anybody
for me.
else needs to poke in, poke in.
Yeah.
Pay for this.
So opportunistic crime. And here's one for you, because Beth and I have heard this from victims over and over and over again, where there was no, or didn't seem to be, any evidence of de-escalate or desensitization. There was no risk assessment happening. There was nothing. But at an opportunity, and I'll give you an example, a female realtor drops a pen, the male who she has developed a relationship with, stereotypical 30 to 55-year-old white male, married, who she had been out with the wife as well, drops a pen. This guy automatically reaches down, grabs her by the vagina in the back of the head, and throws her head into the wall. Opportunistic.
That's opportunistic, but if I may, an individual like that who would take that opportunity has released red flags prior that have either not been noticed or ignored.
Yeah.
There's no way that, I mean,
That comes down to a lack of awareness and knowledge of what the red flags are.
yeah,
So a look, pay attention to how are they looking at you? What are they looking you up and down a lot? Or, you know, what comments are they making? Are they making jokes? Jokes that are often used as a feeler. Yeah. Where can I push past this boundary? And because, you know, humor and, you know, dirty jokes and inappropriate jokes are so common and accepted as normal behavior in our society.
how do they treat other people as well?
Yeah.
Sorry.
How are they treating other people? 100%. That one's huge. There's a very, you know, it's a cliche saying, but they're cliche for a reason. Someone who's nice to you, but not nice to the waiter or the service individual is not a nice person. That is a classic, but it's so true. So
somebody who has road rage, not necessarily isn't a nice person, but has short triggers, has anger issues, right? There's a lot of little things. Now, if there isn't, let's say this guy was just fucking none of it, and then he did that, then there's nothing you could do.
yeah.
If there's no signs, there's no signs. You're gonna fucking eat it.
The only thing in
way
that,
around
if that was the case, there were literally no red flags before. There's no way she would have caught any, whatever the reason. The only thing in that situation that would have prevented him from grabbing her is how she bent over. And this is what we talk about squatting. If she's bending over, you know, hinging at the hips like so, I'm very vulnerable. This is sometimes used as a setup in an ambush, right? I drop something, I bend over like so, I'm off balance, my hips and shoulders are not aligned with each other anymore. I'm very easy to push to the ground and very easy to grab from behind, like you just said.
Had she squatted,
had she, you know, dropped her pen and squatted to pick it up, she's got her eyes on him. Nothing is.
he can't grab shit.
She can't grab. You know that's going to prevent a lot of different physical attacks. Why? I have my balance. My vision isn't compromised at all. I can see everything that's going on. I am a harder target, if you will. It's a less desirable physical situation that I am in and position that I am in to ambush and attack.
The simple act of squatting as opposed to bending over. When I lived in Cairo, Egypt, when I gave that tip to all females that I met, in a 24-hour period, let alone a month or a week, because in Egypt it's every 5 minutes when you're outside, you're getting a finger up there by males.
Unbelievable.
In a 24-hour period, they said they hadn't been touched once, where normally they'd get touched about a half a dozen times in 24 hours, just walking the streets.
Yeah, just from squatting.
Squatting and have a certain awareness as to where they are when they're in crowds and who's there, males, females, populated, what's blah, blah, blah. It stops. And a lot of people will go, like Pam was saying, having your hands up here when you're talking to certain people, blah, blah, blah. It just enhances your reflex response, your ability to hit if you have to.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a seatbelt in a car. The minute you get in, you put it on, then you do everything else. If I get close to a human being, my hands come up. And I keep
You're
it
not
here.
like this the whole time because that's weird,
No,
right? How's your day? What'd you do this weekend? That's weird behavior, right? But
Yeah.
you just have it centered here, even here, like so. A lot of people talk with their hands. It's just get in the habit of having your hands up.
Now, a lot of people go, isn't that paranoid? No, it's only paranoid if when my hands are here, I worry about everybody around me gonna hit me. That's paranoia. But if I just put them up and I'm talking to people, and if it happens, I'm ready, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. That's just being prepared.
When you put a seatbelt on, you're not driving around doing this, paranoid that you're going to
That
get
you
into an
hit,
accident.
just 'cause you
But
put
you
your belt on
know,
doesn't make you
you
paranoid.
know that if you have your seatbelt on, if something does happen, okay, this is going to protect me,
Right?
right? And
so,
you don't even give it a second thought. Your hands up here at center point are no different.
Right. Now, the preventative measures are they're monumental.
Yep.
And we either can or we can't. At the end of the day, there is no foolproof defense to the perfect ambush. There is none. Right? I'll give you an example of sometimes of uncomfortability. I went to a burger joint last night called Harvey's here in Montreal with my son. We got in line, and the minute we got in line, a group of about anywhere between 5'9" to 6'6" teenagers walked in, their masks half down, no respect or awareness of anybody around them. They're literally this close to me, looking at the menu, barging in front of people. Everyone's kind of looking them at weird. They're talking amongst themselves about what they're going to get really loud. Now, I get the teenage brain. It's not well developed. They're in their role, blah, 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 blah. I get it. I didn't get a sense that they were in here to cause trouble, but I definitely got a sense that if anybody said anything to them, there would be trouble, but they're not here for that. So, and they're behind me, and my kid now, who's 9, is doing this. So I can feel him. Right off the bat, I feel him uncomfortable. The big guy in front of me who's ordering, because I'm still in line, he's uncomfortable. He keeps looking back because they're literally fucking hovering over him. There's a group of like 7 of them. And at one point, he barges right up front as the woman is serving a man, and he starts asking her about a burger. She completely ignores him. So he goes, okay, fuck it. And he turns around and all his friends start laughing at him. Now they're behind me and I feel them getting riled up. But I can't look at them. I mean, we always say keep your eyes on people and your eyes towards the door. I can't when the fucking person's like literally this behind me, there's people behind him. I have a cashier, I can't just turn around. Right? So, but how do I keep my eye on them without looking paranoid and doing this every fucking 3 seconds? There's 7 of them. So I grab my kid's hand when I'm about to go to the cash because the big guy got there. And I go, just before I order, I look at the kid, I go, hey buddy, come here. You had a question for the lady? He goes, yeah. I go, come and ask it, man. So he walks over and he asks the cash lady, because she came up to me, she goes, can I help you? I go, yeah, hold on. I got the kid. She answers the kid. As she's answering the kid, I'm checking all the other fucking 6 kids. Their pockets, their hands, where's everything is there a lump here? Is there edgy? Is one guy's trying to, the whole thing. And I got to do that in a nanosecond because I got my kid going and cheeseburgers. So now I turn back around, right? I'm about to order, and the kid now is all like, "Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate it." I go, "No problem, buddy. It's all good."
Now back the fuck up.
Yeah. But then I make my order, and then we step off, and then they do their little thing, and now I can keep on my peripherals. But I had to find a way to fucking manage my stress.
Navigate that chaos.
Yeah. The last thing I want, because see, I don't want to go physical there. If fucking something happened, I got my 9-year-old kid with me. 7 fucking teenagers, 6'6". One of them what the fuck are you eating? It's not that I'm worried. If this goes physical, it's a fucking nightmare at the end of the day. No matter how good I can shred, how well I can knee, I had to avoid that shit. So it's about having that ability and self-awareness and trusting that gut and understanding. I can't. This to me, this is like the ground root of self-defense, if you will, is understanding human behavior.
Huge.
In
That one is-
relation
that-
to what the fuck's going on.
It's everything with prevention. It's everything. That awareness. Awareness isn't just your environment.
No,
Just pay
it's
attention, listen.
what
It's
kind of person,
yeah.
what kind of people are they? Like,
human behavior
I can't-
is huge.
I can't just judge and label and go lazy fucking troublemaking teens. I gotta go. I was 15. I had a bunch of friends. I used to come to this fucking very Harvey's at the time to eat. And I remember how I was with my friends. Maybe not, I don't know if it was to that extent, probably, but, and I didn't mean any harm to anybody. But fuck with me and my male ego and all that shit. I was 15.
As working in high schools,
Right?
and Rob, you'll know too, they have literally no
This-
idea of anyone else in their
Shit,
Go-
adults
perimeter.
don't go to a
Yeah.
supermarket.
Yeah.
You'll have a
Yeah,
group of
none.
3 people talking in the middle of an
Yeah.
alley.
Yeah.
Like they don't realize everybody, they're in their own world.
Yeah.
And it's not disrespect. Like I've done it. Everything that we find ourselves going, fucking asshole, learn how to drive. You've done it.
You spot it, you got it.
Yeah, everything, all of it. You're pissed off at the person standing in front of the fucking thing talking to their friend. Guess what? You've done it. It doesn't matter what it is.
So true, yeah.
So if you have the ability to pick it up, and this requires empathy. Why? Because I got to step into the other person's shoes to understand, pick up, and know how they're going to react. I can't do that without empathy. It's not doable. Why? Because I can't fucking relate, and I don't want to relate, and I don't give a shit. But if you do, then you understand, and it becomes a lot easier to de-escalate, to pick up on red flags,
Yep,
to trust your own shit. Just don't like that person, or something's off.
yep.
Yeah, but they're so nice, and every time they come, they bring you a fucking bag of coffee and a bag of, yeah, why?
It's the grooming.
There's something's
setup,
off. I don't
love
like it.
bombing. And these are right. This is self-awareness. Self-awareness of how you feel around that person. Self-awareness of your own triggers. Self-awareness of, again, human psychology, human behavior.
Cut your losses, man.
Yeah, in relation to all that. So with that
Yeah.
being said, let's get into a bit of physical because we're running out of time.
Okay, now when it comes, before we start
Yep.
smashing my face, 'cause procrastination. The aspect of the physical is not a technically based situation, especially not when we have to consider the individual who is being physically assaulted, their psychological makeup, their own personal relations with their own, everything, right? So everyone's gonna react fucking differently. So you can't go this, and that. All you can go is, here's what I got, here's what is open, I have to react. What do I need to do? 3 things. Take away their balance, take away their eyesight, take away their breathing apparatus. Fuck it, 4 things, right? And hurt them any way you can. Anyway, fucking anything, distract, unbalance, keep them on the defensive until they are unconscious, incapacitated, or ran the fuck away from you. That's
Worst case
physical
scenario,
self-defense,
they're-
not left and right
Yeah,
move.
No.
It's fucking do these things any way you can. If it's done with a bottle, do it. You're not gonna carry a bottle, but if it's fucking there, do it.
Yeah, debilitate, if you can, eyes, throat again, and cause defensive disengagement.
Yeah.
Keep them on the defensive. Get them to stop hurting you. Whatever means necessary, you don't stop. You turn the machine on and you do not stop until you're able to get away from that individual. Deal with the aftermath after the fact. So that being said.
Okay, now physical ambushes come in what forms? They come in attacks from behind. Attacks from behind include being knifed, like that lady at the store or the guy at the store. It comes in the form of being grabbed. And if you're being grabbed, one of 2 things is happening. You're going to get picked up and slammed to the ground fucking hard. It takes less than a second by the time they make contact with you and you meet Mother Earth. You're going to get dragged to a secondary location. But they sure as hell aren't going to grab you and wait for you to snap their finger and stomp their toe and lift your elbow and pick their nose and fondle their balls.
Nobody grabs
Nobody does
someone
that.
from behind and is
And
static
waits.
after. That does not happen.
And every
Never.
move that I've ever seen fucking taught is based on the person having to be static. except for smash their nutsack or their crotch area or whatever the fuck is there at this point in time with people. So that said, now the knife in the back.
Okay.
If I want to knife her in the back, she's in front of me, she's placing her order, and I'm fucking psychotic to the point, or sociopathic to the point that I'm going to do it in front of the camera and I don't give a fuck, like we've seen it on video. I've had it on my Instagram. Man stabs a wife right in her back. There's nothing she can do about it. That's about it. She's gonna get stabbed. There's nothing she can do if she can't see it. If she's engaged and I decide to pull out and stab her, there's no amount of training, no amount of nothing. You're getting stabbed. Last night when I had my back to those kids, if one of them at one point stuck me in the knife, I would be dead today or stabbed in the back and surviving in the hospital. I can't stop that. I'm not Superman, I'm Batman. I can't do it. No, I'm not even Batman. But the point of the matter is these are not stoppable things, no matter how hard you train or John Wick it in your fucking basement with your Bob dummies.
The only hope
It's
that you
not
have
gonna
there
change.
is that you're aware.
Yeah,
You're
that's
paying
it.
attention, and you're right, is paying attention to that individual, something, you feel bad, you think, oh, you know, shit, I forgot my wallet, and you leave immediately. That's the, otherwise, if you're off in your own world ordering and this guy behind you is going, there's nothing, there's
Nothing.
no
So-
defense, there's no force field you can put around.
Let's not delude ourselves
Yeah.
on some forms of attacks.
Yeah.
Now, if I grab her from behind, if it's a woman and she's got long hair, that can happen in different ways. Most common is going to be either here or it's going to be by the hair. Now, even her by the hair, I have to go kind of low because she's got really long, thin, flat hair that it's going to take me a second to grab a certain amount. It's not bushy, right? So if I can come here, she'll probably pull away and I'll have 7 strands and she'll be there going, ah! So it's not functioning.
No.
But it could happen. I grab her by the hair.
By
Now,
a
the fucking thing about
ponytail, let's say.
whether it's the ponytail, the hair, or I grab her from behind, the amount of force that is behind it, and if it's a sudden ambush, there's the element of surprise and the fact of the whiplash effect. I'm next gonna fucking do that, and she's not expecting it. See, in training, you're expecting it, so you can do all this, but in real life, you're next gonna go, bang! And then your brain's gonna go, what the fuck was that? By that point, you're being dragged. He's not waiting. So it's important to factor all that shit in, because you see all the fucking training that's happening out there, all the self-defense. When he grabs your hair, you grab the hand, and then you twist around. In what flash world are you working that you're gonna be able to do all that before the fucking guy does this? He's not going, right? So now, if I grab her from behind, I'm either gonna grab, boom. Now, over the arms, under the arms, he's an idiot. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter.
Generally speaking, they're gonna try and trap the arm.
Yeah.
Because they think from here, there's nothing you can do. Now, if your face is in your phone,
You're
and,
fucked.
and he grabs me,
Yeah, she's fucked, because I'm gonna do this.
and now I don't have my arms, and
She's
there's
done.
literally
Nothing she can do. You might go headbutt. Fuck no.
not
Okay.
gonna happen.
Plus, if I have half a brain, I'm here.
Yeah,
So
gonna
she's
happen.
not headbutting, and I'm dragging her. She can't elbow me. She can't punch
Stomping
me.
the foot doesn't
does
work.
nothing.
We've tried all of it.
I've had teenagers with regular shoes come up and stomp me as fucking hard as they can. They broke one of my toes. Broke them. I didn't flinch. I stood there. Boom, 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 boom. You done? Boom, 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 boom. Busted fucking toe. I kept doing it. Class after class for months. Should have seen my toe. It's fucking grotesque.
So as far as out in public goes,
But I
this
didn't
is
flinch.
why we tell people, we drill it in their heads, keep your face up. Don't be walking around like this, because they come from behind. You're
They
gonna
got both
find
of your weapons.
right here. You keep your hands down and you pay attention to
you're
your
walking.
surroundings. So if it does happen, grab me.
Now, if I do this,
Oh, that was good.
no matter, sorry,
Boom.
there's the groin. No matter how I grab her, how tight, even if I pick her up, she still has the groin. No matter what height, size, unless she's really big, I can't get around. It happens. At that point, your weight plays an advantage. Believe it or not, it helps there. But if the person gets all the way around, I don't care who you are, unless you ain't got arms, you can hit the groin. But there's nothing else you can do. There is nothing else you can do from here, because if I pick her up and go, whoop, and smash her down, this was slow and easy.
I still have him, but I'm still gonna be hitting that ground.
She's still gonna be hitting the
So
ground,
fast.
even though she is hitting the groin.
Fast.
Why? I have adrenaline too. I'm attacking somebody, I'm probably adrenalized. I'm not a fucking robot, unless I got complete mental illness and I'm one of those just like I'm off my meds. It happens, 90%. We go to the normal sociopath who's gonna grab you from behind and try to drag you. He's fucking flinching. Why? He's not expecting that.
So now when that flinch happens.
So if I hear she hits
boom,
me, the reflex response to being hit is to jam the arm.
That's
Why? Because you're fucking hitting me here with this arm. I'm not gonna go like that. I'm gonna try to stop it. Why? I'm not even thinking. That's what happened. If I'm here, she hits me, my reflexes don't hit me. What am I doing? Pushing away from the threat, jamming the arm.
Now here,
If now, hold on. There's also the potentiality that she's hitting me. I just scramble down and I take her down to the ground. And then it's a whole other fight. So
but you turn the machine on and you don't stop.
you don't stop.
Getting into eyes, throat.
So if I grab and she smashes me in the groin, I flinch. All of a sudden, this hand is free. She can
Now I can
start ripping, tearing, get me to flinch, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
A 14-year-old girl did exactly that when, what town were we
In Toronto.
In
Yeah.
Toronto. The day after we taught this in
Yeah.
high school,
Scarborough.
In Scarborough.
Yeah, Norman Bethune.
right, a teenager walking from her best friend's place to her place, condo to condo, 7-minute walk. After school, she went to her friend's house to hang out, waiting for her parents to come home from work, meets them at home at 6 or 7 o'clock for supper. On her way home, between the two buildings, a man grabbed her from behind and started dragging her instantly. First thing she did, he fucking
Bam.
smashed him in the groin, turned around to rip him apart, he took off.
Too hard, too much trouble, see you later.
Now-
Not the vulnerable target or desirable target I thought you were. Fuck that, I'm out of here.
Now, this isn't hearsay, because when I went back to school the next day, who was there?
Police.
Yeah, we were at the cops, the teacher, the principal, and apparently had been attacks on 4 different girls that matched her
Look like her.
Look like
same
her.
coloring, same hair color, everything.
in the
Very
area.
tight, like we talked about earlier.
Right.
Very tight.
So again, these are reflexive response seeking movements where you're getting your opponent to defensively disengage off of you unwillingly. Pain tactics, striking really hard. Anything that causes pain is important to understand that it's manageable by certain people. Everybody has a different threshold of pain.
If this person's on a substance, they're not feeling nothing.
Right,
If they're an emotionally disturbed individual, they're not feeling nothing.
right. You factor in many different aspects, adrenaline and blah, 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 blah. The person's not feeling quite a bit of pain, right? So how much pain can one person administer and how much can the other take? That becomes a bit of a gamble. So what we want to rely on when you're striking people is flinch causing
Can openers.
right, can openers,
Yeah.
flinch causing mechanisms, things that causes any human being pain or not to go, oh shit, or to fucking get off me, man, you put your finger in my eye, right? If I can rip your lip off and you can take the pain, good, but if I shove my finger in your eyeball, you're gonna flinch by virtue of just being human.
And then you can't see. And
I
then
know,
you
right.
can't fight. Can't see, can't fight, can't breathe, can't fight.
Preaching to the choir.
Very simple.
Right? So the hair, you're fucked. The only thing you can do is literally, if I'm being grabbed and pulled, is do that and turn towards the individual.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that
You're getting
the
dragged on the
chances
ground.
of that
Yeah.
happening and having that sense of spirit, that quick of a reaction, right, is very slim.
And that would take, honestly, the best chance for that is training it.
Yeah, that's it. Taught once, I know, knowing and doing are 2 different things.
Yeah.
Now, the physical stuff, if it gets to the point of physicality, the more training an individual has, the better it
Of
is.
course.
If they are intelligent enough to translate what they have learned to human behavior and what we're talking about. It's not about the moves, it's not about a technique, it's not about performance or athleticism. All of that is bonus. It's about how the fuck do I get this person off me, man, and go home. Morally, legally, and ethically too. Let's not forget, social violence situations, mistaken for anti-social violence situations, that happens much more often than antisocial violence, physical antisocial violence, right? So now, any ambush, front, back, if her hands are down, just really quickly, watch the reaction time of Pam. My hands are down, her hands are down, I'm gonna grab her by the throat really hard,
On the shoulders.
really fast, okay? But I'm gonna go for her shoulders because I don't want to strangle and kill Pam. So Pam, the minute I move, is gonna block it, stop me, hit me, do whatever the fuck you want, don't let me grab you, no matter what, boom, I'm in. If you can look, I'm in. Now I'm a really big, strong guy, you're here. that becomes very difficult. Why? Because when I'm not stopping here. See, I would have fucking already had her smashed into the counter of the kitchen, back bent over, and I would have punched her 3 times by now. Why? This is not martial arts. It's not a self-defense course that we always see. Right? It's like, fuck you, boom. Next thing you know, wham. I might be even hitting the ground with me on top of her. Why? Velocity, rage. You're not defending against the physical attack. You're defending against an emotion. Rage, hate, anger, misogyny, racism, whatever the fuck is making me want to hurt you, that's what you're defending against, not the move. The move is incidental. You don't know what I'm gonna do, right? You just gotta fucking react. Your reaction is based on mine. Now, her hands are here. My hands are here. I go to grab her. Yep. Forget my lip. So now, I can't get in, no matter what. Why? Look, hands down. Oh, hands down, right? Hands down, I'm here, boom, I'm in. Hit me in the face from your hands down, okay? I'm here, boom. She can't, I'm still in. I closed her off, and the way I closed her off is reflex. That's not a move. I just flinched that way. But as I flinched, my hands are still around her neck and she's not reaching me. And now once I'm here, what I'm gonna do, rock you, boom. So, hands up, I don't even get in. No matter who I am, no matter what I do, no matter what the move is, I get fucking nailed. So whether I punch her, stab her, tackle her, hit her with it, right? I get fucked every single time. Just by her reacting and flinching. Shit, that's all she has to do, fuck. Why? Bam! That's why. Because when I attack her, I am coming at her with emotion. From 0 to nothing. Why? Ambush! See, she would have fucked me there. But hands down, boom! I just clocked her before she even touched me. Yes? I can't hear anybody.
Run out of time here. So you get that gist. Any questions about
The
any
key
of
is
that?
to not let it get to that.
Yeah, so
You just, right?
so Rob said apply the 5 rules of physical retaliation.
100%.
Yeah, that's where
That's all physical self-defense is the 5 principles of physical retaliation in motion.
Yeah.
No matter what.
and it's only dubbed the shredder because the shredder is the manifestation of the 5 physical principles
In close
in
range.
close range.
Fuck shredder, because you're only, just think of the 5 principles. Doesn't matter. You could be sitting down, legless, sleeping, standing on a bus. What happens if I'm attacked on a bus? What the fuck? He's gonna grow an arm out of his head. It doesn't matter the environment you're
What
attacking.
are
You're
the
being
5
attacked.
principles?
You gotta react.
Yeah.
So everything plays.
Get to
including-
know those rules, get to know the 5 principles of physical retaliation, and
Because any human can do that without
think
thinking
about,
technique.
and think about every possible realistic scenario. None of these ridiculous, don't self-sabotage out of completely unrealistic situations, but realistic scenarios and how those 5 principles would apply in every single scenario. Like he said, sitting down, sitting on a bus, you're asleep and you wake up with somebody strangling you. You're in a social situation.
Still
You're
5
at
principles.
work. You're blah 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 blah. Even sporting context. 5 principles.
Still 5 principles. You can apply it in sports. Just limit the rules. Just go by the
You're
rules.
just not
Apply the 5
you're
principles.
not-
Go by the
yeah,
rules.
You're not removing eyesight and breathing ability.
The,
in
the,
sport,
the
right?
beauty of the 5 principles is that it could be done by anyone. No training or supremely amount of training or anything in between. Why? Because anyone can apply their closest weapon to closest target and understand what economy of motion is. And now they might be more limited. They might be more limited in their application of tools, the less trained they are, meaning I'm not going to do a spinning back fist, a key lock during this situation, but I can fucking sure as hell rip eyes, bite, spit, clog, go for their breath,
Yep.
surprise them, make them flinch,
Now you add that.
unbalance them.
You want to add that with the psychological tools, understanding human behavior, not just recognizing signs, but de-escalation is more than just talking the good person having a bad day down. It's about understanding how to manipulate the bad guy, the predator. How do I use his ego and his shit and his expectations and what he is thinking I am against him to get his guard down, his ego up, so I now have the element of surprise on my side to take this fucker out.
And preemptive verbal de-escalation is important to do. What I did with those kids, that's preemptive verbal de-escalation. Forced teaming, I was nice to them. I put them in my scope. I let them know that I got your back. I'm on your side. If anything, right? I'm not the guy to jump here, right?
Those
So
those very
it's-
tactics that Gavin de Becker talks about in Gift of Fear that
it's
predators use, you can use them against them.
the other person.
Them.
So that was
Force
me
teaming,
being
right?
force teaming
Yeah.
and
Loan
using
sharking.
charm and niceness,
Mhm.
right? So my kid asked me when we walk out, why did you let that kid blah blah blah? Why did you let the guy go in? And I look at my kid and go, always be nice. Why? Gets people on your side. Yeah. Anything happens, you're not the guy they're jumping first. Because you had their back for a second, or you'll pick up on it.
Yeah.
And so, and that's preemptive in social situations where there's a certain level of uncertainty based on a gut feeling. Because people take things and they crystallize it. So this isn't a concept of preemptive de-escalation. You're not doing it when a gang of biker fucking walks in, the guy's got a gun. You're like, oh shit, I forgot something in the car. I gotta get my wallet. Come around, let's go get the wallet and we'll be right back. I don't have any money on me. First, you let them know you got no fucking money. Second, it's normal that you forgot your wallet. You step the fuck out and you go and you don't come back. Right? So that's if your intuition goes off. So then, right, if you're not there, it can't happen to you. So every aspect, everything that we teach has a level of grayness, if you will, attached to it. There is no one size fits all solution, but if we understand how people act, react, red flag, if we understand behavior, if we understand pre-contact initiators, what people do as setups, commonalities, and every country in the world of murders and what are if we understand that, then we can be fully prepared to handle anything that comes out our way, being average citizens as opposed to picks. This is beyond soldiers, right?
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah.
It still is, but
removing apathy and denial too, right? Oh, this person loves me and they would never do that. Do you know that? Are you potentially being apathetic in this situation right now? Listen to red flags. They're there. They're always there. And green flags too.
And
Green
very
flags are
important,
also-
just to end this, listen to red flags, don't create them.
Right.
There's self-sabotage where, and I believe I've done it, where we sabotage our own relationships, right? I don't want to be with this person anymore, so I'm going to make them out to be the bad guy, and I'm going to augment all of their faults to a point that I can't stand, and I'm going to create red flags where there weren't any. Well, we went to dinner 2 nights ago, and he forgot his wallet at home. Has he done that before? No. First time? Yeah. Well, that's a red flag. No. Fucking guy forgot his wallet. Give him a break, right? Now, if it happens the next time, or 6 times in the course of the next 10 dinners, red flag.
Yeah.
What the fuck? So again, it's a lot of information. It's a lot of meat.
Resources and tools.
it's-
Gift of Fear by Gavin de Becker. That's a good one. There's a couple things.
Yes, it's dated.
It's a bit dated. There's a few comments he makes that I do not agree with in there.
Neither do I.
That particularly one about the average male isn't capable of rape. I don't believe that at all. If there's a lack of education and cultural and religious components to that, absolutely.
100%.
The average male
Can rape.
A non-sociopath, yes, is capable of rape.
Absolutely.
I don't agree with that comment. There's another one he makes about domestic violence survivors or victims that,
Right.
they choose to stay when they could do. That's the load of shit. If you know anything about the psychology of domestic violence and coercive control, for example, it's a little bit dated. There's not much.
It's a choiceless choice.
There's not a lot of trauma informed or just knowledge in it.
And it's a touch male oriented.
It's a little, but and stranger, a lot of stranger.
Yeah.
But regardless of that,
Brilliant.
it's a brilliant book. So a book discussion on Gift of Fear. Yeah, Creepology too is one that Mary recommended. Another great book,
Yeah.
Creepology for sure. Those are a couple books that are great tools to help with intuition and warning signs and human behavior and red flags. Also,
Keep on going.
watch Forensic Files. Recommend that to anyone. I know it was on Netflix for a while. You can find it on various cable networks. Like investigative TV, I think it's called, but you can also find episodes on YouTube. So it's called Forensic Files. Some of them are old. You'll get a kick out of some of the hairstyles of some of the people in there. It's fantastic, but really great information about how the perpetrator
what their methods were, how they set that person up, whether it was someone they know the majority of the time, it is someone they know, but even the stranger situations, like for example, driving on a highway, the bump and stop. They pretend to rear end you, you get out of your vehicle and you're ambushed. That happens. So there's a couple
Rare occasions,
they're
but
rare, but it does happen, right? So, and also don't automatically submit and listen to authority. My sister was raped by a police officer. So don't, you know, you have rights, and that's another one to listen to as well. Police officers, yeah, they have authority, but you also have rights, and you need to
know what they are.
know what they are,
It's such a
and stand
huge
firm on
part
them.
of self-defense, no matter,
Yeah.
especially in countries where you don't have any.
Yeah.
Right. Quick, brilliant book. Okay, Sadistic Serial Killers by Carol Anna Davis. She profiles countless from
Ones
the
I've
early
never even heard of.
1900s
Yeah.
straight through to present day. That book I learned an incredible amount on human behavior and what constitutes the making of a sadistic serial killer.
And they're
And
rare.
they all
but
have,
it's
they're
still-
rare,
yeah.
but they all have everything in common with each other as to how they were raised, the types of abuse. It's right. Highly recommend stuff like that. We learn a lot more about personal protection, violence prevention, and self-defense from books like these, from shows like Forensic Files, from cross-referencing books, information to the science behind what we learn, and then taking all of that and observing our students, their reactions, how they perform, listening to their stories. And you, right, so that's kind of like a peer-reviewed scientific process where all of the information from all of these sources, criminal psychology, forensics, science, abuse, of every level, right? And you look at that and you see the commonalities. You go, no matter what field you look at that looks at violence on a scientific level, you're going to see all of the commonalities. And
Everything
that's
is
what
connected. Everything
right.
is connected.
And that's what self-defense is. That's what it is. If you don't have an understanding of that, if you don't, that it's no longer self-defense. It cannot. It's aspects of it. It's like, you know, I can't call myself a tennis player if all I do is use a tennis racket and a ball and hit a wall back and forth. I can't go out and profess that I'm a tennis player, right? So it's kind of the same thing here. People who just do the physical, or who only do this, or who only do that, or who only touch upon this, or who only cover that, or who do it on a physical, or blah, 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 you're hitting a ball on a wall. Yeah. It's the totality.
You're limiting yourself, and
right.
You're limiting your students if you're teaching.
Because the true essence at the end of the day is not, we're not looking to put a Band-Aid when the person's about to hit us. We're looking at, how do I stop a human being from getting to the point that when they're out and about, they don't fucking hit somebody else over this stupid shit. Yep. How do we do that? Yep. And that's through education, prevention, awareness, de-escalation. And if all goes to shit, then we rip the fucker apart. I mean, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? So
great. Yep, we're a little bit over. So if any questions pop up in the meantime,
email.
As always,
shoot us.
Feel free to message us on Messenger or email, whatever method you prefer. That's pretty common. We hear from people after the fact. So we'll also send you a copy of this recording.
If you enjoyed it, if you didn't, don't. But if you did enjoy it, a nice little public review where we're tagged in, just to let people know what we're doing, right? Like, I mean, some people are still confused. The fuck are they teaching? Well,
these woke motherfuckers.
Yeah, apparently I'm woke.
Whatever. Anyway, yeah. So enjoy the rest of your day. And again, reach out with anything, and we will talk to you all soon. Thanks again, as always, for your support. We always appreciate it, and you're continuing to learn. Okay. Okay. Peace, guys. Much love.
Thank you.
Welcome. Bye, Mary.
Bye.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.
You're
Take
very
care.
welcome. Thank you. You too.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you for being here.